In the quiet village of Ajanaku, nestled between a thick forest and a winding red earth road in southwestern Africa, people believed that everything had a spirit. Trees, rivers, wind, and even silence. But there were some things they did not speak of. Things that lived not in light, but in the spaces where light refused to stay. The villagers avoided shadows at dusk, except for the boy. His name was Tunde.
Tunde was born during the Harmattan season, when the air turned dry and the sky wore a pale, dusty veil. On the night of his birth, his mother claimed the oil lamp in her hut flickered without wind, stretching shadows across the mud walls like long fingers reaching for something unseen. By morning, she was gone, vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the child and whispers that refused to settle.
Tunde grew up under the care of his grandmother, Iyasade, a woman whose face held more stories than the oldest tree in Ajanaku. She noticed early that the boy was different. He would sit alone, staring at corners of the room where darkness gathered, nodding as though listening. Sometimes he would laugh. Other times he would tremble.
"What do you see, child?" she once asked. Tunde did not answer her directly. Instead, he said softly, "They say the ground remembers everything." Iyasade's heart tightened. As Tunde grew older, the village grew uneasy. Goats went missing. Children woke up crying, claiming something cold had brushed past them in the night. Shadows seemed longer, heavier, as if they carried weight. And Tunde began to speak more. "They are not just shadows," he told his grandmother one evening as the sun bled into the horizon. "They are people who forgot how to live." "Spirits," she whispered. "No," Tunde said, shaking his head slowly. "Something worse. They are the ones who were never remembered." Word spread quickly. The elders summoned Iyasade to the shrine at the edge of the forest, where ancient stones stood like silent judges. The chief priest, Baba Olumide, listened carefully as she spoke, his expression carved from stone. "This boy is dangerous," one elder muttered. "He calls what should not be called." "But what if he does not call them?" another argued. "What if they call him?" A heavy silence followed. Baba Olumide finally spoke. "Bring the boy." That night, under the pale glow of the moon, Tunde stood before the shrine. The forest loomed behind him, its darkness thick and watchful. "Boy," Baba Olumide said, his voice low, "tell me, what do the shadows want?" Tunde's eyes moved, not toward the priest, but toward the ground behind him. The shadows cast by the shrine's fire danced unnaturally, stretching and shrinking in ways that defied the flames. "They want to be seen," he said. "They want to be heard." "And if they are?" the priest asked. Tunde's lips curled into something that was not quite a smile. "Then they will not be shadows anymore." A sudden gust of wind extinguished half the torches. Darkness spilled across the shrine, and for a brief moment, no one breathed. Then came the whisper. Not from Tunde, from everywhere. The villagers panicked. Some fled. Others fell to their knees, chanting prayers that tangled in their throats. When the flames were relit, Tunde was gone. So was Baba Olumide. The village did not sleep that night. By morning, the forest seemed closer, as though it had taken a step forward while no one was looking. A search party was formed, led by the strongest hunters.
Iyasade insisted on going, her old bones defying every warning. They found footprints, 2 sets, leading into the forest. But only one set led deeper. The other stopped abruptly, as though the earth had swallowed its own whole. The deeper they went, the quieter the forest became. No birds, no insects, only the sound of their own breathing, and something else, faint and rhythmic, like whispers moving through leaves that were not there. Then they found Tunde. He stood in a clearing where no sunlight reached, though the canopy above was thin. Shadows pulled unnaturally around him, thick like liquid. Tunde, Iyasade cried. He turned slowly, but something was wrong. His eyes were darker, too dark. Not empty, but full of movement, like countless things shifting behind them. They showed me, he said calmly. Showed you what? One hunter demanded, gripping his spear. Tunde tilted his head. The truth of Ajanaku. The ground trembled. The shadows around them began to rise. Not stretch, not shift, but lift from the earth as though peeling away from it. Shapes formed, vague at first, then clearer. Faces, hands, hollow eyes. The villagers screamed. These are not spirits, Tunde said. These are the forgotten. What do you mean? Iyasade asked, her voice breaking. Tunde stepped aside, and behind him, the earth cracked open. Bones, hundreds of them, buried beneath the village for generations. Victims of wars never spoken of. Sacrifices hidden beneath tradition. People erased so completely that even their names had been denied to the wind. They were never honored, Tunde whispered. So they stayed. The shadows surged forward, not attacking, but reaching. Hungry not for flesh, but for acknowledgement. The hunters dropped their weapons. Some fell weeping. This is your doing, one elder shouted at Tunde. You brought them. No, Tunde replied quietly. You kept them. The realization struck like thunder. Everything Ajanaku feared had always been beneath them. The shadows did not belong to the boy. They belonged to the village. As the darkness thickened, Iyasade stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. We remember you, she said. The shadows paused. We remember, she repeated, louder now. You are not forgotten. One by one, the others joined her. Names were spoken, guessed, invented, pieced together from fragments of stories long buried. Tears fell freely, soaking into the broken earth. The shadows began to change. They softened, faded, not vanishing, but becoming lighter, as though finally unburdened. Tunde watched silently. When the last shadow dissolved into the air, the forest exhaled. Birds returned. Light broke through the canopy. And Tunde collapsed. When he awoke, he was no longer in the forest. He lay in his grandmother's hut, sunlight warming his face. They are gone, he said weakly. Iyasade nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Because of you. Tunde shook his head slowly. No, because they were finally seen. Life in Ajanaku changed after that. The villagers built a memorial where the bones were found. They told stories, painful ones, honest ones. The silence that once protected them was broken. But Tunde never spoke to shadows again. Not because they were gone, but because they no longer needed him. And sometimes, as the sun set and shadows stretched across the land, they no longer felt heavy. They felt at peace.